I'm incredibly delighted to introduce one of the very popular name in neurology to World Federation Neurology YouTube channel viewers. Associate Professor Orly Avitzur is very well known for her unique contributions in neurology. As far as I'm aware, she is the one and only editor-in-chief for a purely patient-focused journal, which is very popular with close to 200,000 followers, Brain and Life, the American Academy of Neurology patient-centered the journal, which I like very much. She's also an academic as well as a clinician, scientist, clinical neurologist, and she's also the president-elect for popular and the very influential organization, American Academy of Neurology. Orly, thank you very much for giving us some time despite your busy schedule. My first question to you is, how excited are you to see that two major organizations in global neurological health, Movement Disorder Society and World Federation Neurology, joining forces together, indeed including American Academy of Neurology, European Academy of Neurology, and all other partners in this field worldwide to talk about Parkinson's disease and advocate for this debilitating pandemic type disorder in 2020?
It's very exciting to see the light shined on Parkinson's disease. It's such an important condition, and patients and clinicians alike are very happy to have this be the focus of your World Brain Day.
Orly, I want to get back to your career because you are a unique person in neurology globally. While everyone else has chosen a different path, you decided to embark on a sort of a risky path where you wanted to focus on a patient-centered journal. But before we get to that, I want to get back to your beginning. So tell us about your high school days and what motivated you to get into medicine, and what sparked you to be interested in brain health and neurology?
Well, like many future neurologists, I was very interested in biology and neuroscience in high school. And I followed a fairly typical pre-med path at Johns Hopkins. And ultimately in medical school, I had phenomenal mentors and teachers in the field of neurology that showed me what an exciting field it was and made it impossible to go into any other field.
So that's what motivated you. You had a happy and safe and very well supported childhood and high school days. You didn't face any challenges as a young woman getting into medicine or building a neurology career at that time?
I do remember that my biology teacher told the entire class that none of us would become doctors, that it was way too difficult. And two of us did. So it turned out to just motivate me even more.
Right, right. Then let's get back to this journal and your work with the American Academy of Neurology. When I look back in your CV, you have been heavily involved for a long period of time in these areas. How did you get into patient-centered communication? Didn't you think that this would be a risky path rather than taking the traditional path more often? I mean, you did take that path also, not that you haven't done that, but didn't you think that it would be slightly risky to concentrate on patient-centered communication?
Well, I started out by actually writing for our member publication, Neurology Today, and I did that for about 8 years before the American Academy of Neurology launched Brain and Life magazine. It was called initially Neurology Now, and so I thought it would be fun to try to write for patients and caregivers. And once I started, I realized that that was really fulfilling, and it was a voice that was very important, and that I enjoyed writing to patients and caregivers a great deal. And so I explored that and continued to do that. I also spent 10 years as medical director at Consumer Reports. So I wrote again for consumers on the broader field of medicine. And together, I think all that experience writing for patients and the public just made me sure that that was an important type of writing to do in order to convey health information to people with all kinds of conditions and be able to give them resources and places to go to learn more about their conditions and what to do about them.
Terrific. I think what you have just mentioned are the critical and key component of development or advancement of next phase of neurology and medicine in particular, isn't it? The patients that you and me see today are not the sort of patients that our grandparents' era patients. Our patients now basically directly wanted to get involved in decision making and the journey that they take after an illness, to the extent that not only they Google and come and sit with you with a lot of information, they wanted to be a part of the journey, and therefore communicating with them appropriately and in an understandable language is of critical importance. What are your tips for novices and even not so novices, but who are probably not good at this? What is your tip to communicate with patients more openly and more cleverly?
Well, I think it's very important, whether it's in front of a patient administering care or directions and talking about treatment plans in a way that includes the patient preferences, to use very clear language, to be able to be sure that people understand you. And in written communication too, it's equally important to write clearly and to make the material accessible. Even complicated material can be broken down and made into pieces that are easy to digest. And if we can make it interesting on top of that, or entertaining, then all the better. Even before the pandemic, there was a role for and a thirst by the public for patient material, material about conditions and diseases, especially in neurological health. But now, after the pandemic, it's on everybody's minds. Health information is probably the #1 searched item these days, and being able to provide information to people in a way that is easy to understand and to help them make the right decisions in order to protect themselves during the COVID pandemic, it is quite important, if not absolutely a necessity these days.
I think you hit the nail on the head. When there is darkness, as we see in most countries, here where I live at present in Australia, and the country that I was born in, Sri Lanka and USA also, because as human beings, we are sort of a complicated bunch of animals, sort of educated, but if we believe the wrong thing, we might decide on the wrong thing. And that's why we see that some fellow human beings still believe that COVID-19 is a conspiracy and there is no such thing as such, and the protests against masks and this and that. But then as healthcare communicators, our job is to shed some light to that darkness with kindness and compassion and continue to get that message across. I think your message is critically important, and I sincerely hope that our viewers would get that, and then individually, each one of us would do our job, and then we can shed light to this darkness. And it is hugely important in this pandemic era to make sure that we communicate clearly and we get the message across, and we get most folks in the community on board in the journey. Orly, you are going to be the president-elect American Academy Neurology in time to come. What is your vision in the coming years as a broader global organization, as you know, American Academy of Neurology, although it was created by A.B. Baker and the colleagues at that time as the promoting the be indispensable for members of AAN. But as you know, there are a lot more members overseas also now. So it's truly a global organization. What is your vision of promoting brain health and bringing your skill set of directly communicating to patients in the coming years? Anything that you like to share at this point of time?
The American Academy of Neurology strives to help its members provide the highest quality neurologic care to patients. And we try to provide education to our members and also to people with neurologic conditions so that they can have the best health possible.
So it would be exciting time in the coming years under your leadership. We look forward to continue to see the AN flourishing and promoting this great cause. Outside medicine, Orly, what sort of hobbies do you have and how do you pass time?
I enjoy writing. It's both a hobby and an avocation, but I truly enjoy it. During COVID, I've been writing a great deal. It gives me an opportunity to speak with experts in all types of neurologic fields and convey information that's important to our membership. And so during COVID, that's been a big part of my life. Of course, like everyone else, I have started to enjoy cooking more as a hobby and as a necessity since we were homebound quite a bit. And I've always enjoyed that. And I like to read a great deal, everything from fiction to a variety of books. And we live in the part of New York, the Hudson Valley, that's absolutely beautiful. So I enjoy taking walks and being outside. And in a way, having to be homebound for so long was a time for me also to relax a little bit and enjoy the area that is so beautiful surrounding us. So it's been both, challenging, but also had some silver linings.
Oli, thank you very much for your time, despite a very busy schedule with a very short notice to come on board and share this information with us. Thank you very much for your tremendous work in Brain and Life and all these great communication efforts in all kind of media. People can just Google your name and see what you have been doing over the years. And we wish you all the very best with the AN leadership in time to come also. And we look forward to catching up with you at some stage again to share further information for our members worldwide later on. Any final comments for young and upcoming neurology generations to take a leap from your book and continue this work? What are your tips and advices for younger neurology trainees and neurologists out there from sub-Saharan Africa to Asia, Oceania to USA, Europe, all over the world?
Young neurologists are in the best field at the best time where research is exploding and we're having new forms of diagnosis and treatment coming up all the time. Certainly brain health is tremendously exciting. So we look forward to the next generation and showing us what you can do and making this field better by the day.
One last thing, Oli, do you encourage worldwide patients with neurological disorders as well as neurologists who probably would be keen to share their stories to neurology now? Is that something that you expect them to write, or you normally commission things for the selected people and selected patients that you know of?
The magazine Brain and Life has professional writers, but we do get many patient stories. We have several columns that are devoted to patients telling us about their experience and speaking to us about how neurologic disease affects their life. The most current issue is a little bit of a change, a deviation from our usual cover. We have devoted it to the COVID-19 heroes, which are the clinicians who have been on the front line and have helped take care of patients during the pandemic. The entire issue is devoted to COVID-19 and neurologic conditions and has a lot of practical information that has come from our advisory board of 28 neurologists who've been meeting every week since the pandemic began to try to provide up-to-date information to the public. So we hope that everyone takes a look at it and really enjoys reading this issue as much as we loved presenting it to you.
Brilliant. We should probably remind our viewers that it's free. You don't have to have a subscription.
It is free. It is free, correct. And you can go to brainandlife.org, spelled out brainandlife.org, and take a look at some of the things we're doing, and we're updating it all the time. We enjoy it. This issue is a labor of love, so we hope everyone enjoys it as much as we felt passionately about writing it and creating it.
We will work with our social media teams to spread this copy, as it is of great importance. If a particular reader from, let's say, Morocco, Spain, or one of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, if they wanted to translate it to their language,
yes,
to distribute, what's the process? How would they do that? How would they seek permission? And
right. Well, we already have a Brain and Life in Espanol. So if you go to that same website that I mentioned for all the Spanish language readers, we have translated material right on the website.
Brilliant.
And we have issues that also come out, and that's a new endeavor through the Brain and Life family. And in the future, who knows, if the demand is there, we may produce it in other language as well.
Right. Excellent. Thank you very much, Orly. Have a wonderful weekend. And again, my sincere gratitude to for your support and joining with us. Let's hope that we would celebrate an exceptionally good World Brain Day despite the pandemic. Usually, these sort of crises bring best out of us. I'm an eternal optimistic, and I think we will get this job done.
Very good. It was delightful. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.